In this video, we're going to start topic 7.3 and 7.4, sketching slope fields and reasoning using slope fields. So our essential question is, how do I sketch a slope field? And how do I recognize a slope field given either the differential equation or the original function? Your I can statements are, I can sketch a slope field and I can identify a slope field from the given differential equation or the original function. So in a later lesson, we'll learn how to solve a differential equation analytically. However, doing so can be difficult or sometimes impossible. A graphical approach to solve a differential equation by creating slope fields, which show the general shape of all solutions to a differential. Consider the differential equation y prime equals f of xy in terms of xy. For every point xy in its domain, y prime determines the slope of the solution function at that point. If you draw a short line segment with the slope indicated at each point in y prime, the slope field or direction field will show the general shape of the solution of functions to that differential equation. So we're going to practice that in example 1. We're going to consider the following differential equation, dy dx equals negative x over 2y. We're supposed to sketch the slope field. So a lot of times on the AP test, they're going to give you like a graph patch. And if this does pop up, it would be for your response. It's been a long time, but they would give you a graph patch and give you points, specific points on the graph patch to plot. And you only have to plot those specific points. If you do get 0 in the denominator, so if you get 0 in the denominator, we know that that's undefined. And typically we don't actually graph the vertical. Okay, so you don't have to graph a little vertical slope. So what we're going to do is create a picture of the slopes. We're going to worry about problem A there. I'm going to make myself a nice little t-chart here. So this is going to be my dy dx. It's a little bit bigger than a t-chart. This is going to be my x. This is going to be my y. So I'm going to start with 0, 0, because I see that that's a point right here on my graph. I put 0 in for y, or x, and I put 0 in for y. And I end up with 0 over 0, which is undefined. So in that particular point, I'm not actually going to graph anything. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep going. So now I'm going to go out to 1, 0. So I'm going to put 0 in for the x, or no, 1 in for the x, and 0 in for the y. And you'll notice I'm undefined again. Okay. So again, I would not draw anything for, hold on, 0 in for the y. Yeah, so I would not draw anything for that particular point. So I'm going to go out -1 and up 0. So that's going the other direction. So I've got negative 1 over 2 times 0, which is going to again be undefined. So hopefully you're noticing a pattern that everything along this axis is going to be undefined. So really I have like I shouldn't draw them, but I'm really getting something vertical there. So once I recognize a good pattern, I usually don't keep going with those points because this list gets kind of cumbersome. So now I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go to the point out 0, up 1. So now I've got -0 over 2 times 1, which would just be 0. That's okay. I can draw that. I can have a 0 in the denominator, so I just draw a little horizontal line. Now I'm going to go out 1, up 1. So I'm going to try to do this row right here. And that's going to be -1 times 2 times 1, which is going to be -1/2, which means I'm drawing a -1/2 slope that's not a very steep slope. Right, and then I'm going to go out 2, up 1, and I'm getting 2 over 2 times 1, which is 2 over 2, which is 1. So I'm getting, -1. I missed the negative in front. So I'm getting a slope that's steeper than the one I originally drew. Oh, excuse me. All right. It's steeper than the one I originally drew. And then I'm going to go the other direction now. So I'm going to go out to the -1 and up 1. So I'm going to do negative 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 1 over 2 times 1, which means I'm getting a positive 1/2 slope, which means I'm going to do about the same slope tilt as their slope as that one, but I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And hopefully you've recognized that the pattern then going for the next one is just going to be a slope of 1. So now that I've got that pattern established, I'm going to try to go vertically and see if I can get a pattern vertically. And I'm going to do my chart again over here. X, Y, dy, dx. And I know the chart just takes up space. Once you see the recognize the patterns, you don't have to use the chart anymore. And I'm just using that to show my thinking. So I'm going to be out 0, up 2. So dy dx, I'm going to put 0 in for the x, and then 2 times 2 for the y, which is going to come out to be 0. So anything I put in that's along that vertical axis is going to have a slope of 0 because 0 is going to end up in the numerator. So I'm just going to sketch that in there. Let's go out 1, up 2. So out 1, up 2, I'm going to plug that into the function. So I get negative 1 over 2 times 2, which is negative 1/4, which means as I'm going up, I'm getting less steep. Okay. Let's see what happens in this point here, and then maybe I'll be able to draw the pattern for these two. So I'm going out 2, up 2. So I'd have negative 2 over 2 times 2, which is negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. So notice I'm getting less steep again as I'm going up, but the same tilt. So I'm going to follow that same pattern here. I'm getting less steep, and I should be kind of the same as I drew this one here, but in the opposite direction. And again, same as I drew that one there, but in the opposite direction. As long as you're following the pattern and getting less steep, you would get the points on the AP test. All right, so we are out. I'm going to go out negative 1 and down 1. So out positive 1 and down 1. So let's see what happens with that pattern there. So I have negative 1 over 2 times negative 1, which is going to be negative 1 over negative 2, which is going to be positive 1/2. So you'll notice what happened. Look at what happened compared to what I had. I flipped the direction. It's the same steepness, but I flipped the direction. So let's try one more here and see what happens. So I am out 2 and down 1. So I've got negative 2 over 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2 over negative 2, which is 1. So notice again, I followed the same pattern that's going on there. So likely, but it's just in the positive direction. So what's going to happen here is my slope would get a little bit less steep. So less steep, but stay positive. Less steep than this one, but stay positive. This one over here should go negative, right? So let's try it just to be sure. So I'm out negative 1 and I'm down 1. So here we have negative 1 over 2 times negative 1. It's going to be positive, but negative 1/2 because of the denominator. So again, we're following the same pattern. I'm getting less steep as I'm going out. I know that I'll be like a slope of negative 1 there and less steep as I am going out.